Welcome to the first of 8 compilation videos of the Final Legacy saga. Final Legacy started out as a fan manga project taking place after G-Revolution, 20 years after the first battle between Kai and Tyson. We faced many setbacks, such as the person who drew chapter 2 disappearing and the person drawing chapter 1 eventually not having enough time to finish it. Then we lost nearly half a year with the coming of the official Beyblade Rising manga, which will be addressed in this story in a different form. But now that Rising is over, and we do not seem to be getting any more of the original Blade Breakers, the Final Legacy needs to be revived for a more definite ending. So in this series, we're going to tell you the full story we had planned out, scene by scene, chapter by chapter. As you're watching, I'd like to remind you we kept it as compact as possible, so it could be expanded upon another format. Meaning, if somebody wants to pick up any of these characters, use our already scripted scenes, or maybe help a chapter of your liking come to life, please check out the description and contact us. We're not going to release the scripted scenes in this compilation video, because not all of them were fully scripted. Now let's begin. Volume 1, Chapter 1, A New Dawn Rising. The first scene opens up with a speech on the legacy of the Blade Breakers. It mentions their epic battles, how they've all turned into legends, and their era has become known as the strongest generation of bladers. It all pans out with a boy on a rooftop screaming, "Hey Taiki Ichihara, it's Makoto, the king of Beyblading, come out and fight me!" The boy has a very similar appearance to our favourite Takao Kinomiya, or as the English fans know him, Tyson Granger. Anyway, Makoto's antics do not cause the reaction he planned. One man points to the roof screaming, "Look, a crazy person!" And a woman yells out, "Oh no, a suicide jumper!" Another man wearing glasses tries to calm the situation, yelling to Makoto, "Don't jump! It ain't worth it!" Makoto reacts in confusion, asking the question to himself, "Jump?" Then his face of confusion changes to one of wickedness as he realizes, that's it! He leans forward and calls out to the crowd, "Bring me the Japanese champion Taiki Ichihara, or I will jump!" Slam! Makoto gets knocked out from behind by his friend Nori, a local blader. Nori says that Makoto needs to stop embarrassing them, and that Taiki is in fact on the other side of town, and he runs straight past him without noticing. Makoto rubs his head and points out how mean Nori is, also asking why he didn't tell him. As Nori drags him away angrily, he comments, "I did tell you, but you were too busy running," with the dust-filled wind flowing through him. The original concept was that he'd be an emotionless type of character, with glasses and a bit of a creepy but handsome look. The man steps up to a large Bay Stadium in the middle of the park. Kids that were Beyblading in the distance turn around and look in shock. It's him! The scene would involve various kids showing up everywhere with their Beyblades and launchers, all running for the stadium where the silver-haired boy stands. Following one kid in particular running through the streets, opening a door to an apartment where his friends sit inside. "Come quick!" he'd say. And with the immense battle going down in the park, he'd continue, "It's Taiki Ichihara, and he's challenged every kid in the whole damn town!" We pan out and see the entire park crowded with Beybladers from around the country, stepping up to the plate one after the other, and the silver-haired Taiki Ichihara fighting them all. We show a blader DJ reporter picking a minor character, perhaps Andrew, as the local Japanese DJ. He'd comment on the epicness of the promised exhibition match, and the skilled Japanese champion Taiki. As Taiki beats them all one by one, Makoto and Nori arrive by the scene, far too late. Some Beyblades land by Makoto's feet as Taiki calls out the name of his blade, and the silhouette of a giant centipede soars over the stadium. "Mukadi!" Taiki screams as the blade flies up and lands on the paw of his hand. The crowd screams out in cheers, "Taiki! Taiki!" Makoto stands back up and looks down upon the blades before his feet, in shock at how far they flew. Up at the roof we have another new character watching. She gets up commenting on how she knows Taiki's power. While Nori wastes no time running forth to yell at Makoto for making them miss their chance to challenge the champ, Makoto on the other hand is not listening, but looks up at the sky, noticing the silhouette of a tiger we're all too familiar with, and inside it is a girl. Rin jumps from roof to roof as Makoto looks amazed at the sky, saying, "So cool! A flying tiger!" referring to the white tiger bit. Nori says, "Have you lost it?" That's when Makoto grabs his arm, dragging him along in protest, saying, "Come, let's follow! She jumped right off the roof!" To which Nori responds, "No more roof jumping!" The chapter continues in scene 3. A young blonde guy with a scar across his face walks around a construction site with his hands in his pockets. The boy's name is Ren. Behind him walks a really large guy with a beanie and a dumb look on his face. It's his little brother Minoru. Ren complains a lot over boredom, talking about how all the competition sucks, and each time his brother says something, he tells him to shut up. Eventually Minoru, who seems mentally damaged, asks Ren one too many questions, which makes him kick the can too hard, hitting a cat in the distance that screeches. Minoru acts like a big kid and is amused at them finding the cat. "You heard the kitty cat, Ren?" "Kitty cat!" To which Ren replies with putting the blade to his launcher. Fuck kitty cat. Ren hunches down to look for the cat beneath a pile of construction boards. Minoru asks what he's doing. Ren smirks evilly and says, "What does it look like I'm doing? I'm killing my boredom." Ren hears the noise from the cat screaming and jumps in that direction. Ren is chasing the cat with his blade, laughing about it, and the cat runs away desperately with an injured paw. His clueless brother says he wants the cat, to which Ren replies, "Once I'm done, you can have what remains." Suddenly, before the blades hit the cornered animal, a new blade strikes from the distance, knocking out Ren's man-type blade. Ren catches the blade and looks up, seeing Rin. Rin jumps down angrily, asking him what the hell he's doing, pointing at him and yelling at him as he backs away. Meanwhile, Minoru sneaks up behind her as she's too upset to notice. Nori and Makoto sneak up from behind the bushes, both seeing the whole ordeal. Minoru smiles evilly and knocks a big rock over Rin's head as she's in the middle of yelling at Ren. After her knockout, he comments, "Good boy, Minoru. Pick up that trash and carry her back to the hive. Then we'll teach her what happens when you fuck with the Tokyo Blades." Nori gets really shocked while Makoto wants to jump up and get them. Nori holds him down, holding his mouth.
"Are you crazy? Didn't you hear what he said? They're members of the Tokyo Blades."
Makoto doesn't get it. "Tokyo what now?" To which Nori replies,
"The Tokyo Blades, they're Taiki's boys. The strongest bladers in all of Japan."
It takes a while until Nori thoroughly makes Makoto understand the power difference. But once he realizes, he hastily decides that Nori should follow them, then message him their whereabouts while he runs away, getting some extra artillery. Nori, being unable to stop Makoto before running off again, comments in annoyance how the Tokyo Blades hideout, nicknamed Hive, is actually right in front of them. For a quick comment, we're well aware that this scene isn't perfect, and perhaps the pacing is a bit too quick. But you have to keep in mind that we're trying to make everything move along as quick as possible for someone who might want to draw this. Plus, we intend to have a total of 32 chapters, meaning we cannot give each chapter and each scene transition as much focus as one would in an actual episode. Now let's catch up exactly where we left off. Rin is tied to a steel beam and slowly wakes up, seeing before her Ren standing at a base stadium with countless minions behind him. "So you're finally awake. Rip it, boys." To which Trigger MSUV flies into the stadium. Ren calls out, "Watch closely," and rips his own blade. "Go! Man-tied!" Ren starts attacking Trigger as Ren is tied up defensively, screaming for him to stop. "Trigger, no!" To this, Ren jumps back in shock, recognizing the name. Nori sneaks up to Rin behind the beam and whispers for her to calm down as he's releasing her. While Ren stares at the stadium, "Trigger?" Rin gets released from the rope and jumps into the air, which causes Ren to panic, calling for them to catch her quickly, adding, "She's a goddamn white tiger!" suggesting they have made a mistake. Rin jumps from steel bar to steel bar with Mistel-like acrobatics, now having full control of her blade, fighting several opponents at once and beating them mid-air. Rin mocks them, and Ren rises his own blade to the air in anger. But another blade interrupts the rise, which includes in Nori standing there with his launcher. "I'll be your opponent." The challenge makes the short-tempered Ren furious, calling Nori, "You little shit." In the next scene, Makoto has reached his father's old trophy room, filled with all of Tyson's old Beyblades, his trophies and prizes, a wall full of his victory photos, which we would pan over to the dialogue of Makoto thinking, "Dad's old trophy room, a monument to all of his victories, a homage to the blader that the world has come to call the best." And as he reaches the centre of the room, his spirits rise as his eyes lock onto the old Dragoon MSUV, thinking, "And at the centre of it is you." His hand reaches out and grabs it. What do you say? Looking at it, the bit chip shines as Makoto asks, "Are you ready for another spin?" The next shot starts directly with Nori's blade getting hit against the base stadium, with Ren screaming, "Slam him!" Nori's blade dodges as Man-Tide hits the wall, making Ren angrier. He says, "Stop running!" One of the minions asks, "Boss, should we?" Ren shuts him down. "Stay out of this, he's mine," as Man-Tide continues chasing after Nori's blade as it runs away in the stadium. Meanwhile, Trigger MSUV flies through the air. On the side of it there are rays of light looking like tiger claws. As it flies through the air, it cuts through several blades that fly to the side in pieces as if they were slashed by a real tiger. Rin screams her attack name, the White Tiger Slash. Rin and Trigger land on a steel block with two bladers and their blades in front of her. The bladers go after her, and Rin does a backflip. Trigger flies sideways, cutting through the two blades in midair, as she's screaming, "Go Trigger!" The two bladers fly off the bulk in fear as they are defeated. Rin lands in the shadows on the edge of the bulk. I'd have expected more. Suddenly, Minoru jumps down screaming, "Diande!" His Diande blade flies with the shadow of a rhinoceros beetle and lands on the steel beam, leaving behind a large bump in the metal, while Rin looks shocked as the wind from the landing flows through her hair. Rin makes a desperate move, going for the attack right on. Trigger, don't back down! The two blades confront with Minoru smiling, laughing at her, and Diane slams Trigger back, fighting her on the bulk like a rhinoceros beetle fighting a rival male in nature. This is Minoru's battle style. Rin gets desperate as she's pushed back, and this is not her type of battle environment. Attack, Trigger! Give him all you got! Trigger strikes into the heavily defensive blade and flies back, losing more ground. Rin looks worried, thinking, what power? She calms herself and studies his blade. So it's a defensive type, and my specialty is sideways attacks. I must push him back. Trigger MSUV moves up against Diane, and Minoru accepts the challenge. Let's crush this puny blader. Diane, Sabaton horn attack! They both face head-on furiously as Nori looks up with a worried face. Not good. Ren screams out, focus on the battle! Mantide corners Nori's blade and backs away after pushing it into place, leaving it weak and wobbly. Ren says, I've had enough playing around with you, to which he smiles evilly. I'm finishing you for good. The blade starts shining up as Ren looks down. Ren calls out his praying mantis bit, saying, hope you're ready for my special attack. He finishes it off by sending his blade forth with the praying mantis striking down towards Nori as Ren calls out the name of his attack. Severance Slice! Rin jumps down in between, throwing her battle against Minoru, with the trigger blade falling down from the bulk. Seems like it's over. His minions gather with their bays all around, as does Minoru. Prepare for the attack, let's finish this. Rin looks mad and Nori worried as suddenly a voice says, that's enough! A shadow appears in the doorway, holding the Dragoon MSUV blade in his hand. Rin stares unimpressed. And who the hell are you? Makoto responds while walking forwards. Oh, nobody's special. Just the uncrowned king of Beyblading, here to kick all of your asses. He looks on with a spirited smile as he steps up to the dish, finishing the sentence. But you can call me Makoto. Ren stares on and then bursts into laughter. You have to be joking. He reaches his arm out, showing the full scale of bladers all around. You against all of us? Ren gains a devious look in his eyes. Not to mention Taiki, our leader. The strongest blader in all of Asia will be here soon. Then he points at Makoto. A pretender like you will never measure up to the likes of that. Makoto puts his blade to the launcher and keeps on smiling. Yeah? Well, bring it on! Outside, a chopper is landing on their landing pad, and the infamous Taiki Ichihara walks up calmly, with his right-hand man Zenjiro standing behind him. Zenjiro is supposed to look like a somewhat hardcore street punk version of Jinga Hagane. Anyway, one of his minions runs up to him, telling him it's a good thing that he's here because they're having some trouble. This makes him question, trouble? Inside, Dragoon is suddenly pushing Mantai back, making Ren panic, yelling at his underlings. What are you waiting for? Hurry up! Attack! Attack! Everyone attack now! Taiki walks down and looks from above, as everyone launches their blade. Tai takes one look into the stadium thinking, you idiots! Calling out in a hurry, stop! That Beyblade! It's too late as their blades are flying towards the stadium while Makoto clenches his fist, screaming out at the top of his lungs, finishing Taiki's sentence. Dragoon! The Beyblade flies up out of the bay with full force, beating all the blades away with the pure force of his impact. Makoto flies into the steel bar as everyone flies back from the energy released, and Dragoon explodes through the roof, tearing off the entire top half of the building, lighting up the entire sky for miles. Makoto now lays on the ground unconscious, as we finish the chapter with a to be continued. So that's it for chapter 1, but we'll explain what happens in the next chapter of this volume. Stay tuned, make sure you subscribe to Bay UK so you see it as soon as it comes out. Until next time, goodbye.
Young, the future was so bright. The old neighborhood was so alive.